It is April 7th, 2017. This is the Watchman News, and I'm Mike Callahan. Wow. Okay, let me begin with saying bear with me. I've had little sleep. I'm on my second cup of coffee, and wow. So let's talk about last night. First off, you guys should know by now that I am no way, shape, or form a trumpet or a trumpeter or whatever you want to call somebody that just blindly supports the Cheeto. Not at all. But I do want to make it very clear my thoughts, and this is just my thoughts, my opinion, and that's why I'm being very clear that it's my thoughts and my opinion. But I think he has been fooled. I think he's been bamboozled. I think he's been lied to. I think he's been ill-informed. And I think this has been happening for a long, long time. This doesn't start with Trump. The events that unfolded last night are very likely going to lead to much more severe events as time goes on. So anyway, what I'm going to do real quick, I'm going to scroll down our Twitter page, and I'm just going to read you the headlines. I've got a couple articles. I'm going to try and catch everybody up on speed as to what's going on, what has happened since we thought it was a real good idea to send close to 70 Tomahawk missiles to an air base. So, again, there's been a lot of stuff, and as you can tell, I'm, wow. So, let me just start with here. And again, I'm just going to read you the headlines, and then we'll go from there. Putin considers U.S. attack in Syria aggression against sovereign state, says the Kremlin. Daesh militants. Now, this is very important to note, okay? Very important to note. If you want any of these links, by the way, this is our Twitter page. You can access it at twitter.com/The Watchman News, okay? I believe the link's right down in the description of the video. You can access all these links right from our Twitter page, and simultaneously it goes out on our Facebook. So either way, you've got access to all these links. Anyway, Daesh militants attack Syrian army positions simultaneously with U.S. strike. Huh. Interesting, huh? So, ISIS, ISIL, Al-Qaeda, Al-Qaeda, you know, whatever you want to call them this week or next, apparently, you know, just coincidentally, they just, you know, happened to attack at the same time, right? Just, yeah, coincidence, right? Syrian Shayrat airbase heavily damaged after U.S. strike, all planes out of order. ISIS used U.S. airstrike to launch new offensive near Palmyra, Homs governor tells RT. U.S. committed a blatant aggression act against Syrian army base, general staff. Let's see. U.S. attacked in Syria, a show of force, Russian Foreign Ministry. Russia suspends memorandum with U.S. on flight safety in Syria, Foreign Ministry. U.S. failed to warn Syria of strike on Shayrat airfield in Homs, general staff. Now, by the way, I do remember seeing last night that supposedly, I guess, or just to get Jen, I'll say, Tapotabi. But anyway, so last night I distinctly remember hearing it somewhere, seeing it, something like the headline or something that the Pentagon, right? Not the Octagon, but the Pentagon had warned Russia, had let them know that we were going to strike. U.S. actions in Syria reminiscent of military intervention in Iraq, says Lavrov, and I concur. Russian MOD says U.S. missile attack on Syrian airbase prepared long ago. Kind of just like the Patriot Act, right? You know, the Patriot Act was wrote like way, way, way ahead. And then, 9/11, and well, we got this dusty piece of paper laying around. Let's put it to use, right? Huh. So, okay, let's go with this for a moment, shall we? Russian MOD says U.S. missile attack on Syrian airbase prepared long ago. Give me just a second. I seem to recall something that I had pulled up. Let me grab it real quick. It'll only take me a second here. Pardon my phone. And the lamp that it just, yeah. Okay. It's a Blue October thing. Okay, here we go. I got the link. Sorry. I told you. I'm on my second coffee, cup of coffee, something like that. And I've got about an inch down from the top drink already, so you're lucky I'm even breathing. Okay. This is web.archive.org, okay? And this is a Mail Online article. I want you to take note here that this was published on the 29th of January in 2013. And it says U.S. back plan to launch chemical weapon attack on Syria and blame it on Assad's regime. Now, I also tweeted this out last night too. So it will be on our Twitter, it will be on our Facebook, so you'll have access to this link here. So yeah, that's not surprising to me in the least. Okay. Okay, let's continue. Terrorists began offensive against Syrian positions straight after U.S. attack. U.S. missile attack in Syria was de facto in terrorist interests, says the Kremlin. Grasshopper. WikiLeaks releases new batch of Vault 7 CIA classified documents. I guess Mr. Connolly must have put that out. Oh wait, I don't have him hooked up yet. I don't know. I woke up. I was kind of out of it. Syria investigates number of civilian victims after U.S. strikes, says the Russian MOD. S-400 Panzer air defense systems protect Russian air group in Syria 24/7. I don't think that's an untimely, out-of-the-way article there. I think that was a clear, direct warning. U.S. strike on Syria is widely hailed, but angers Russia. This is a different story. This is about a truck in Stockholm that rammed into people. So that's going on this morning too. Syrian presidency vows to step up campaign against militants. Well, of course they do. Okay, so let's go here. RT. It says U.S. missile strike killed people fighting terrorists. Assad's top advisor to RT. The U.S. attack on Syria airbase is meant to bolster terrorist morale after the significant setbacks the jihadists have suffered at the hands of the Syrian army over the past few weeks. President Assad political and media advisor Bathania Sheban said. I'm sure I really butchered that one. The United States felt that they have to save the terrorists and lift their morale. And the proof for that is that Israel, Turkey, and Saudi Arabia are the ones who supported this attack. And they are the very countries who had been facilitating the coming of terrorists and arming them against the Syrian people and against our country, Sheban said. Now, we should all know this by now. Really, if we don't, come on. I'm seeing on social media, I'm seeing a fair amount of support for what happened last night. It's time we, put the fairy tale idea of life down. right? Because most of us are aware that we have armed, that we have trained, that we have funded ISIS, ISIL, Al-Qaeda, Al-Qaeda, whatever you want to call them this week or tomorrow or whenever. I mean, come on. So it's time to quit waving the red, white, and blue flag of ignorance, right? Because this is going to get very real very fast. I'm just saying. Just saying. Might want to be real, with ourselves especially. Anyway, I'll continue, because I can rant about that for a long time. It will only make us and our allies more determined to defeat terrorism. And it also speaks volumes about the stance of the West towards terrorism. If they are truly in their coalition against terrorism, they should help the party who are fighting terrorism, who are the Syrian Arab Army and Russia and Iran, Shaban said. If they are fighting terrorism, why don't they respond to President Putin's suggestion to make a coalition, an international coalition against terrorism? They killed hundreds of our soldiers in Deir ez-Zor, and it took weeks to acknowledge that they were killed through their airstrike. There are so many contradictions in Western discourse towards Syria. The reality in Syria is absolutely different from what the American, French, and British government try to portray to Western audiences. Again, do I have to remind you about the CNN video in 1990? Right? When the big gas attacks with Charles Jaco and joking around and... Right. It's like I say, it's time to wake up. If we don't wake up, and if we don't wake our fellow brothers and sisters up, guess what? Guess what? There is no chance in fixing this. Because where this leads is a very, very, very dark road. Only terrorists benefited from the U.S. missile attack as Islamic State jihadists used it as a pretext to launch an offensive after weeks of steady SAA advances, which makes the missile strike look like a desperate attempt to actually help terrorists, Shaban said. Yeah, I mean, don't you find that interesting? Same time, I mean, come on. Let's be real. For the last few weeks, we've been fighting terrorists both in the suburbs of Damascus and near Damascus, and particularly in Hama and Homs, where the American attack took place, she told RT. And we achieved great achievements against ISIS and al-Nusra, and therefore the attack of the Americans on our airbase only played into the hands of terrorists and lifted their morale, and in fact came to support them. Killing soldiers and officers who are at the forefront of fighting IS and other terrorists actually puts people in Western countries in danger, Shaban noted, saying, in her opinion, this marks the U.S. strike as a double crime against humanity. The missile strike on the airfield is a desperate attempt by the United States to change the balance of power in favor of terrorists, Shaban believes. They have been trying for the last 7 years, secretly or publicly, to help terrorists, and they will not be able to achieve that, because this land is ours, and we will defend this land to the last drop of our blood, Shaban said. The Syrian government cannot be held accountable for the Idlib incident, which was used as a pretext for the U.S. cruise missile strike, Shaban stated, since the Syrian government did not control the area of Khan Shaykhun where the alleged chemical attack took place. I want to remind you, by the way, that it was chemical weapons and it was baby incubators, right? They got us into the Gulf War to begin with, right? And then the weapons of mass destruction. Let's not forget about the weapons of mass destruction, because, my God, we found so many of them, didn't we? Folks, if you're duped by this, I don't know what to tell you. It's just happened too many times. Too many times. Syria has previously surrendered its chemical weapons stockpile, and international organizations confirmed the Syrian military did not possess any weaponized poisonous substances. Terrorist-held areas, however, are off-limits not only to the Syrian government, but also to international organizations. Only Turkey can access these areas in Idlib and therefore should be questioned, along with Jabhat, al-Nusra Front, and ISIS, about the presence of any chemicals in the area, Shaban told RT. So you're talking about an area, right, that is under control of Turkey and ISIS and al-Nusra and al-Qaeda and, you know, God only knows who all we got over there, right? And they knowingly are not in control of that particular area, right? And, I mean, it's right there, folks. It's really right there. So this is the important part of the whole thing right here. The reactions. Hang on, I'm taking a vape. It's morning, you get me how I am, how I be, whatever. U.S. missile strike in Syria, what we know so far about target, victims, and reactions. The U.S. launched a missile strike on a Syrian airbase, killing at least 6 people, including civilians, and wounding several others. Reactions to the operation continue to roll in, with Russia condemning it while the EU countries and others express support. The U.S. President Donald Trump ordered the military strike on an airfield in Shirat near Homs, which resulted in Friday pre-dawn strike in which 59 Tomahawk missiles were deployed. 6 MiG-23 fighter jets were destroyed in the operation, along with a material storage depot, a training facility, a canteen, and a radar station, according to Russia's Ministry of Defense. However, the airfield's runway remained intact, according to the MOD, which described the operation's efficiency as quite poor. Syrian officials have so far confirmed that 6 people were killed and several others wounded in the operation. However, the governor of Homs told RT that at least 5 people had been killed, 3 of whom were Syrian soldiers. He also stated that at least 7 people had been wounded. Meanwhile, Syria's Sana news agency has reported 9 civilian deaths, including 4 children. Global reaction. The office of Syrian President Bashar Assad called the airstrike reckless, irresponsible, and short-sighted, claiming the motives of the strike weren't based on true facts. And I agree. I think it was an absolute knee-jerk reaction. The Syrian army called the strike blatant aggression, stating that it makes the U.S. a partner of Islamic State and other terrorist organizations. Hello? Homs governor Talal Barazi told Syrian state television that Syria's leadership and policy will not change as a result of the missile attack, pledging that the targeted airfield will be rebuilt and continue to play a role in fighting terrorists. Russia also condemned the strike, saying it's suspending an agreement with the U.S. to prevent incidents and ensure flight safety during military operations in Syria. Under the agreement, the two sides had exchanged information about planned flights in the area. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said that strike reminds him of the 2003 invasion of Iraq, in which was launched without approval from the UN Security Council. He went on to state that Washington has not presented any evidence to back its allegation that Damascus was behind the chemical attack. Iran, a key ally of Assad, called the strikes dangerous and destructive, saying they violate international law. Meanwhile, European countries have expressed support for the assault, including France, Germany, the UK, and Italy. French President François Hollande has said Assad bears full responsibility for the strike, and said Russia should take it as a warning to push for a political solution in Syrian conflict. A warning, huh? Ooh. Fight, fight, fight. This is insane, folks. It's literally that insane. President of the European Council, Donald Tusk, says the strike is needed action against barbaric chemical attacks, adding that the EU will work with the U.S. to end the Syrian conflict. Meanwhile, by the way, Jen calls it the big dumb puppy, and I think that's perfect. And I think Trump is perfect for that title right now, big dumb puppy, right? Because he's a moron, absolute moron. He might have been able to get this country back on its feet financially. I really fully believe he could have done that because that's his area. That's what he does, right? But obviously, thinking, critical thought is not part of his part of his resume. Anyway, sorry, my opinion. Meanwhile, Turkey has also voiced support for the operation, with Ankara accusing Damascus of humanitarian crimes. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan called the operation positive and a concrete step taken against the war crimes of the Assad regime, but said it isn't enough on its own. He added that serious steps are needed for the protection of innocent Syrians, Reuters reported. The Prime Minister of Israel, a staunch ally of the U.S., and Trump has sent a message that chemical weapons will not be tolerated. Benjamin Netanyahu went on to say that he hopes the message will extend not only to Damascus, but to other countries, including Iran and North Korea. You know, when that don't happen, they'll have to invade there, right? I mean, you see who's behind this, right? That right there, that statement is letting you know the puppet master. Saudi Arabia called the strike a courageous decision by Trump, expressing its full support. SPA news agency reported, citing a statement from Riyadh, the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain also expressed support for the strike. Japan has also voiced support for the operation. China, which has historically sided with Russia and the UN in opposing condemnation of Assad's government, said it had noted the latest developments but did not mention the missile attack specifically. It went on to state that the most urgent task was to prevent the situation from deteriorating. Wow, China's actually using their brains in this, huh? Go figure. Following the strike, Moscow called for an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council. Russian President Vladimir Putin said he regards the strike as an aggression against a sovereign nation, according to the spokesman Dmitry Peskov. He also said Putin believes the strike was carried out in violation of international law and under an invented pretext. That's put pretty well, I think. Moscow also vowed to take a number of measures to strengthen and improve Syria's air defense system in order to protect vital parts of Syrian infrastructure, according to Russian Defense Ministry spokesman Major General Igor Konishnikov. So here's the thing, right? They were kind of working together. So, like, you know, they've got these S-300, these S-400 systems over there. And, you know, they weren't targeting American aircraft or, like in this case, American missiles. I think we are going to see a change in that directive. I think they're going to specifically target anything like that in the future. So I really do. I'm going to put out the same statement that I did yesterday. Keep a very, very close eye on this, because it's going to happen quick, folks. It's going to be bam, bam, bam. I assure you. Just like the strike happened. I said that yesterday. After hearing, you know, Trump go on and on and on, I knew that he bought it. They got him hook, line, and sinker. The military-industrial complex had complete control of Trump. Emotionally, mentally. I think he was fooled. I honestly do. I don't think that Trump is a part of it. I think he was tricked. But I don't know if he's smart enough to catch on. We can only hope. And then, even in that, to me, that's like a best case scenario. Trump to figure out, oh, okay, this, But even that is not a good situation to be in. But hey, we've got decades and decades and decades of this stuff building up. And nobody putting a stop to it. And everyone that tried, well, look at JFK. Anyway, sorry. Missile strike, which Trump said was in the America's national interest. In order to prevent the use of chemical weapons, came after a chemical attack took place in Idlib, Syria, earlier this week. The U.S. operation took place before any investigations were concluded. Big dumb puppy. Up to 86 people, including 26 children, are alleged to have been killed in the chemical attack, with images showing civilians choking and fainting and some foaming at the mouth. Washington has accused the Syrian government of being behind the barbaric attack. However, Russia's Ministry of Defense has confirmed that the chemical release was a result of a Syrian army destroying a rebel warehouse where chemical weapons were being produced and stockpiled before being shipped to Iraq. The ministry called the information fully objective and verified. The Syrian army also completely denied deploying chemical or toxic material, stating that it has not used nor will use such materials in any place or time, neither in the past or in the future. And I believe that. I believe that. I really, honestly do. So anyway, hopefully this caught you up a little bit as to what's going on. Pray, folks. Pray for lots and lots of things. Anyway, keep an eye out, Twitter or Facebook page. Keep an eye out for me posting other videos throughout the day before we go live. And God help us and God bless us.